live. I'm just gonna. Okay, so welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Have a seat.
Okay, so we're now live. So if the commissioners could stay muted, that would be wonderful. Welcome to all those who are with us or who are watching the recording. We'll call the meeting to order. Today is Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, and this is the monthly meeting of the Revere Human Rights Commission. We meet at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. A few notes that I want to say about this meeting is, excuse me, I just want to let the clerk, our acting clerk, Paula, know to make sure that people are muted when they arrive, that that check is not on, that people are automatically muted upon entry. Thank you. So this meeting is all remote because the council chambers was not available for our meeting tonight, and that's why we're all remote. So we're sorry that we can't be with you in person. If we do have guests with us, and I'll mention this again later, please wait to raise your hand. We will take questions and comments during the open forum section of the meeting, but it's distracting if people are raising their hands other than the commissioners during the meeting. And finally, the Spanish translation, there was some technical issue on their end. And so they will not be joining us during the meeting, but they will translate the meeting, and then it will be on the, there'll be a Spanish translation recording that will be on the Revere TV website, the YouTube website. So we'll do an attendance. Please unmute when I call your name. Commissioner Alexis is absent. Reverend Bogertman.
Here.
Thank you. Chief Wright is absent. Chief Callahan is absent. Dr. Garcia.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Chair Hossein. Vice Chair Hosseini, are you with us? Could you unmute? All right, maybe she's getting settled. We'll come back. Commissioner McGee.
Hi, here. Good evening.
Commissioner Muka Bear.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Commissioner Shea, it looks like you're logged on and settled. Can you just verbally state you're present?
I'm here.
Thank you. Commissioner Pish.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Reinstein.
Present.
Thank you. And I am Chairperson Janine Grillo-Mara. We also have the HRC Director, Dr. Maritza Barros, here, so I want to acknowledge that.
Good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Barros. Okay. And so now we'll move on to our land acknowledgement. I'll be sharing my screen. So we take the time to acknowledge the land so that we can pay respect to the original overseers of this land that we're on. And we'll acknowledge the land of Revere, even though we may all be in different places at the moment. We are representing the city of Revere as the Human Rights Commission. We would like to acknowledge the traditional overseers of this land on which this meeting takes place, as well as honor what this land means to the culture and traditions of those who originally occupied this space. In addition, we extend a welcome to any Aboriginal, Native American, and/or First Nation people joining us today. And on this screen here, you'll see that we are on the land of the Pawtucket tribe in eastern Massachusetts. So let's just take a few moments to acknowledge the history and the original overseers of this land. And I'd like to take a few moments. On May 24th, the Robb Elementary School in Texas suffered a horrific tragedy. 21 people were killed, and 19 of those were young children. So we can only imagine or try to imagine the fear, the horror, the sadness, the suffering when a tragedy like this happens. So let's just take a few moments to connect to all those, wishing them well, and however it will ease their discomfort and their suffering. I'd also like to mention that 10 days prior to that, on May 14th in Buffalo, New York, there was another senseless, heinous, racially motivated hate crime, where innocent people were killed simply because of the color of their skin. So that people cannot shop in a grocery store because of their skin color or because of any other way that they may identify that's different than what's in the dominant culture. This is why the Human Rights Commission exists. So let's just take a few moments to rest, to express our deep sadness, disgust, when these kind of tragedies happen over and over again. And if you'd like to learn more, there is a statement issued by the Human Rights Commission and Mayor Arrigo on our webpage. Before I go on, Vice Chair Hosseini, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to add on top of, unfortunately, on top of those 2 shootings that happened, there was another shooting today at a hospital in Oklahoma. So I just want to acknowledge and give silence to those who died there as well.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hosseini. This may be a good segue that I'd like to share a poem that I came across as I was reflecting on these kinds of incidents and how it might be helpful for us to begin our meeting to settle in and connect. So this is a poem that I do not have the, just give me a moment. For some reason, it doesn't seem like it's coming up. Just give me one sec. It's an anonymous poem, and it's titled My Poem. There we go. So the author is unknown. My poem is a song to human rights for all, from fragile childhood to the neglected old age. My poem means to be a herald of faith, tolerance, and freedom. Faith in human rights for all, in which only equality could exist. Tolerance to enable walking is one along a common path. The freedom to express our feelings and our dreams. My poem means to be like the clear, transparent water which springs from the distant Sierra and flows through the earth's streams. My poem is inspired by the strength of trees in springtime. Their green shoots will blossom and bear fruits of many colors. My poem wants to run like the blood which flows in veins, both Asiatic and African. My poem is for Jews, Palestinians, and Americans, for Black people and for gays, for mistreated women, for gypsies, and for the aged. My poem is for those who suffer rejection, cast out by a dehumanized society, turned antisocial through prejudice which has no respect for diversity. How poor the earth would be without a rainbow on the horizon or the shining of the stars. So just in your own way, take a few slow, deep breaths if you'd like. However, it's helpful to arrive and settle so that we can remember this important work that we're here to do for the benefit of all. And now we will state our mission statement, which is how we usually officially end this section before we begin our business. I'll share that. We can't, unfortunately, all mute. So I'll read it, but you can read it along with me on your own. The mission of the Revere Human Rights Commission is to promote human and civil rights and empower all people of Revere by ensuring that everyone, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized, have equitable opportunities, equal access, and are treated with dignity, respect, fairness, and justice. And our first item of business is approving the minutes from the May 5th monthly meeting, which were posted on the HRC webpage a week or so after and distributed to the commissioners. So does anyone want to speak up to offer any comments or edits on those? Seeing none and hearing none, then could I hear a motion to approve the May 5th minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, raise your hands. Okay, so seeing that all are in favor, Kathy Reinstein is raising her virtual hand. Everyone else raised their physical hand. So for any guests that are here, if you didn't hear my initial comments, we are meeting remotely on Zoom. The council chambers were not available. During the open forum, there will be an opportunity to ask questions or make comments. And until then, I ask that you please not raise your hand because it's distracting as we're trying to conduct business. So thank you. I hope that just answered the questions. And so now we move on to the director, Dr. Maritza Barros, her message and updates.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman. Good evening. Good evening, commissioners. How is everybody doing? Great. I have some updates I'd like to share, some words, and then we'll get into calling out monthly holidays and events and all that good stuff. Well, everything I'll be sharing hopefully is good stuff. It always feels like so long from our time together when we get together once a month. So there's a lot to share, a lot to reflect on, readdress. And so I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. But I want to share and bear with me because I'm going to take this slow. I'm not going to try to rush through this and mess up, right? Because I have some visuals that I want to share along with the news I'm sharing. So some updates coming from my role as Chief Officer of Talent and Culture. And then we'll go into sort of the HRC role. But I wanted to share with folks that I am, you may or may not know, but the City of Revere is part of the Massachusetts Municipal Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coalition. It is a new coalition, newly formed group because the positions like myself at other municipalities across the state are new as well. We invite new members often in this space. So it's really great opportunity for this group of professional DEI practitioners in the local Massachusetts government space to share experiences, compare best practices, and support each other through our common challenges in trying to create inclusive communities within our towns and cities, right? So the City of Revere is a leading voice in this space as I serve as a co-chair to this coalition. I'm super, super proud and excited to share with you all. I mean, literally fresh off the press. As of today, we offered some sneak peeks to some folks sooner, but the new DEI guide, we collectively co-authored a guide for DEI practitioners to really be able to have a resource to pick this up. Even if a town or city doesn't have a role or committee just yet, they can pick up this guide and get a sense of what it means to start thinking about it and how would it look uniquely in their town and cities. So let me do a quick share just so you can get a visual of the guide. We will make this available for viewing through our website so folks can check it out and share it wildly, please. Even if you don't have a role as a DEI professional, these are good tips and guiding resources for folks. So you'll see there, City of Revere representing there. So excited. We're in partnership with a number of cities and towns, but work very closely with the town of Arlington. Town of Arlington's Chief Diversity Officer was a founding member of this group. And of course, I have to give a shout out, major thank you to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council who supports our work. So great news, super exciting. Wanted to share that. I can hear the screams in the background. I can hear it. All right. Is it helpful to stop, Chairman?
Dr. Barros,
Yeah.
excuse me, I just want to inform everyone that for now, we've disabled the chat because it's distracting when people are repeatedly putting messages in the chat while we're trying to conduct business. So there will be time, if any of the commissioners need to communicate, you'll raise your hand. And otherwise, during the open forum, people will have time. But I wanted to be on the record why we just disabled the chat, because we cannot concentrate and conduct business.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions about the DEI guide? Comments?
I feel like this is a self-explanatory question, but this is obvious. This resource is obviously available on the Revere website, right? For people who aren't DEIs can also use that resource to their own advantage.
Yes, I'm going to have it posted on the HRC website.
Okay.
Yep. So easy access, easy sharing. I really appreciate folks sharing it. We're going to be getting together as a coalition to discuss a dissemination plan of how we're going to share it and create spaces for practitioners to be able to engage with us as co-authors in just having the discussions about how we do this work. Super important for a new role for folks to understand the capacity and the capability, right? The potential of impact in that role. And you have to understand how that role can be used for you. For example, as a chief officer of talent and culture here in the city, of course, I'm working for the city. I had a phone call today from a local organization who consulted me around some challenges that they're having. And that was perfect. That was great, because I want folks to know that I'm here as a resource in that way, right? As I'm sure Dr. Garcia lets folks know, and they utilize him in that way as well. So it's just another resource for folks. The next thing I wanted to update on was the Remap Reveal. I know we were hoping to have Remap present at today's session. And as a leadership team, we decided to roll it over to a summer meeting date. But I did want folks to know that we have shared the presentation with the mayor's cabinet. And so we look forward to continuing to share that around. And at some point, we will certainly record it so then we can make it accessible to the public via our website as well. But just know that that's a more of an informative sort of presentation, because the work has sort of been disseminated, is owned, and is continuing to be built out. So we'll continue to share that. I also wanted to share with folks a bit of what I've been doing in trying to connect with students. So I had great visits and conversation with students at Revere High School and Seacoast High School. So very powerful conversations, very motivated, driven students at both high schools. And I'm so excited about the ideas we generated. There are 2 specific ideas that came out of both groups, which was great, that we're going to be building pathways for connections and collaborative project work with our high school students and the city municipal office. So more to come on that. I just wanted to share a bit of what I've been doing. I'm not going to give any details yet, because there are things brewing. There's a lot of exciting things brewing. But we'll release them as they are more definitive. Also, our special events task force, which is citywide, members of our city who are involved in planning events. Just want you all to know that we have been continuing to meet, which has been really great. You know, great connections come out of collaboration. And I wanted to share that the Revere Beach Partnership is seeking cultural groups to perform at this year's International Sand Sculpting Festival. The theme of this year is a world theme, and they're seeking performers who are looking for exposure, and they're looking for singers or dancers, right? Dancing groups or singing groups or singers. And I want, at some point, if I can, Chairwoman, to drop the contact in the chat for folks to have for record. And I'll just say this way: if you hear this message and you want to get connected, please contact me. You can contact me through the Human Rights Commission website or mbarrows@revere.org. All right, that's going to be a major event. As you all know, it's a tradition here in the city, and it's been a couple of years since that's been able to happen due to COVID. So this is the comeback summer. They're coming back, and they're coming bigger and better. From what I hear, they've got some really rare sculptors coming through. So please mark your calendar for July 22nd to the 24th for the International Sand Sculpting Festival. And if you know of cultural groups, local singers, dancing groups who would love that type of exposure, please, let's make that connection happen. All right, so I want to...
Dr. Barros, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
You mentioned that the International Sand Sculptor Festival are seeking some local groups. Do you know which days? So I may contact some people that I know.
It's for, mentioned it for the weekend, so I'm not sure the exact date, but I can, Rashid, drop you the contact for Chris Puya.
I received that email. I will follow up.
Okay, follow up with Chris. He'll get you the details. Yes. Yes. All right, so those are my updates from the administrative lens, if you will. I want to share my message today. My message today is coming from the heart of wanting to keep it real, right? We talk about shared intentions in our space. We talk about it as commissioners and how we show up. And one of our shared intentions or conversation agreements is to be honest and be authentic. And so I want to revisit our last meeting. A lot has happened since we last met. A lot of lives have been lost due to the actions taken by people driven by hate, dominance, and a hunger for power and control. And I want to keep it real in this space and name that these violent incidents that occurred, and Janine, you named them, Chairwoman, I'm sorry, you named them, that it really made me think over these last couple weeks about how volatile the climate is for us in the chambers when we have our HRC meetings. And I think about the intimidation of guests coming to the HRC by being surrounded by groups of people as they're leaving the building. You know, these images just play back in my head. And while nothing dangerous or physically dangerous has happened in our space, it made me realize just how quickly things can escalate. And that's a scary thought, right? I know that there are people of color in the city who will not join us in the chambers out of fear of what might happen to them in this space. It's a real fear. It's something I think about coming into this space myself. It's a real fear to know that you can die while living, doing normal things in America just because of the skin color that you have. And because that's such a real reality for us in the society that we live in today, I would be remiss to ignore or not address the disrespect to the Mexican culture that took place in our meeting on May 5th. I mean, the clear mockery of the culture was disgraceful and will not be tolerated in the city, never mind in our city chambers. It is one thing to appropriate a culture in its honor and to celebrate its practices, but to make a mockery of it is not acceptable. Yesterday at the Pride flag raising ceremony, I shared the importance of educating ourselves in order to give space for others to be their true and authentic selves unapologetically. Today, I want to invite Counselor McGee to educate us a little bit on why that behavior was so offensive. Counselor McGee?
Commissioner.
Thank you.
I just gave you an upgrade. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, and I mean, words are so important, but we all mix up our words sometimes. And I think we always try to create a safe space for if there is a confusion and something as simple as calling me the wrong name, right? And so trying to be as inclusive as possible and echo all the sentiments that have been shared by fellow commissioners here today, working to create a space for people here in Revere to come and share with us from all over Revere. We're required to acknowledge, I think, in our positions here, the mockery and the racism that happened on the May 5th Human Rights Commission meeting. It wasn't cultural appropriation or an attempt to have fun. It was not in any way appropriate, as has already been echoed, and it calls to question whether or not it's because geographically we don't have a large Mexican or Mexican American population here. It's ironic that select individuals that protest this group would choose this holiday, so benign, so altruistic, a celebration that harms no one, to degrade an entire people, a people who, as a matter of fact, are native to the land that is comprised of the continental United States. And I really don't have time to get into that, nor am I an educator. But that is to say it briefly. If you are so proud to be an American and love this land, then know that Texas, Arizona, California, Nueva Mexico, Utah, and Oklahoma have native Mexicans that come with that land. And to be American is to celebrate immigrants. And I guess I felt compelled to mostly respond to hate speech that would be directed at immigrants. And I echo the use of the words disgraceful. And I highlighted the use of the word distasteful in the sense that it was offensive to Mexicans, but I'm not Mexican, and it was very offensive to me. And I think all of us that are here on the commission, the numerous restaurants and community members, citizens of this great city, public officials that are of Mexican-American descent were done a great dishonor, that they should be represented by anyone in Revere in that way. And that anyone would have the space to say that about them. We can't let it go without responding to it. And so I think we've said a lot about it, and it's just as important to say it today because Black and brown lives and queer and trans lives all intersect. And I want to bring this up because of the way we are all affected, because of the way we treat each other. And so since I live here now, and since I'm on this commission, I guess just as a human and a person, I would ask you not to treat people in this community that way, because this is my community now, and these are my neighbors, and they're the people that my kids go to school with, and I share the roads with here, and they live down the street from me, and it's not nice. It's quite inhuman to be that way. And I don't think you need any kind of degree to know that. So thanks for giving me the opportunity. I don't know what else I could really share.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner McGee. Really appreciate that. I think education, again, education is key. I mean, ignorance is excusable. I will say that, right? When you don't know, you don't know. But in the great words of the great Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better, right? Let's do better, y'all. So many of us work every day to do better and be better than who we were yesterday. We all should do that. So I want to move us along. As time does, we too must keep it moving, right? Let's talk about June holidays and events. And of course, we're going to start off with saying Happy Pride, y'all. My background, we got a few backgrounds here shouting that out. We officially raised our flag yesterday in the city. We had a great turnout, great speakers. I want to give a major shout out to Counselor Stephen Morabito, my partner in crime in that, of course, along with Charlie in our Parks and Rec, well, now Travel and Tourism department. So that was a great event. We raised our flag, and that was just, our first, I guess, symbolic move, right? To show that we stand in solidarity and that everyone is welcome here as they are. And we're going to continue the festivities with the Pride Tea Dance Party. You may have seen this flyer. If you haven't, I'm sure it's going to be circulating your way. We have it in Spanish and English. And of course, I'm just trying to locate it so I can share it with y'all on the screen. So I'm sharing the English version here. So the tea dance is at the Waterfront Square. It's being sponsored by Next Stop Revere. It's a collaborative event as well, of course. But yeah, we'll be there with a DJ. We've got food, drinks. We've got some special things in the works too that we're just finalizing, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you follow Next Stop Revere on Instagram so you can continue to get all the details and updates. But definitely mark your calendars for June 26th from 2 to 7 p.m. All are welcomed. All are welcomed. The next thing that we want to shout out for the month of June is Juneteenth. So we'll say happy Juneteenth early here, because by the time we meet again, we'll be past the month. But I hope and expect that you will join us for, drum roll. No, just kidding. It's been so exciting to work with folks in planning these events. But Juneteenth, Freedom Day, we're going to raise a flag, have a celebration, looking to have a couple of performers, and looking to also engage the community in a circle conversation for folks who do want to engage and learn a little bit more about what Juneteenth is all about. But join us. We'll have food, music, fun, and we'll be raising the Juneteenth flag. So this flyer is translated and available. Again, this hasn't actually been released. We're just finalizing it. I just want to give y'all that sneak peek, but it's going to be coming in the coming days. We have it translated in Arabic, Portuguese, Spanish, and it's in English. So that I was excited to see all those translations, and that's the practice, the standards of practice we want to work towards, you know, just normalizing here in the city. So I'm excited to see this progress and to share it with you all. I do want to also say Happy Caribbean Heritage Month. We don't have a specific event planned, but if a community member is planning something or something's going on that we can support, help, or just even, you know, participate in, please let us know. And apparently it's also Happy Black Music Month. Chairwoman is laughing at me. Black music celebrated every day, right? And all of these, Pride, Juneteenth, Black History, it's every day, right? But we're going to certainly highlight it in the month of June. So I think that's all I have for folks for events happening. I thought about, should I share this or not? Because this is an internal event, but I'll just share with folks so that you know how things are growing in-house a bit. We will be hosting a an employee wellness fair on the 23rd. And for the employees who are here thinking, I haven't heard about that messaging is coming out, working on the branding logo, which is almost done. But we will have a fair where we'll be able to engage and start to encourage, not just encourage, but provide, you know, the opportunities for folks to center their health and wellness. We need folks at their best to perform at their highest, right? So thank you, Chairwoman, commissioners, for your time, attention, and everyone who's with us. Please feel free to ask me any questions, make comments, but that's my message and update for today.
It looks like there's a couple of questions or comments. Vice Chair Hosseini and then Commissioner Pish.
So no, thank you very much, Dr. Reyes, for updating the rest of the commission on those events. My question is mainly pertained to the translation for both events. For the Pride event, will there be more translations coming out for that other than English and Spanish?
I will check on the Portuguese and Arabic translations. Yeah, absolutely.
And do you mind if we could also add in a Khmer translation as well, since we do have a predominantly large Khmer group in Shirley Ave? I think that way more people can be involved.
I can. I'll have to. I know that's another. I'll wait on translation updates, but I'm gonna certainly update folks. I've been working on ways to see how we can expand and standardize even the capacity of what we're able to do and how quickly we can turn it around. So, but yes, I will add and check Khmer for sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Pish, did you change your mind? Was your question answered or?
No, I just raised, take down my hand. I just want to thank Dr. Barrows was sharing the event for the month of June. Also, June is also a Immigrant Heritage Month as well. Just want to add that.
Thank you, Commissioner Pish. Anything else before we go on?
Chairwoman, I just would like to take this opportunity to invite everyone to the Moroccan Festival taking place on June 25th. It's a Saturday at the Welland Elementary School from 1 to 8 p.m. I want to also thank all my fellow commissioners for their support last year. It was tremendous. I want to thank all of you, and especially Chief Bright and Chief Callahan for their support, and the city as well, including the DPW, the rec department, the health department, you name it, everybody came together to support us, the school department as well. We had a wonderful event last year, and we look forward to have another successful event this year. Thanks to Commissioner Peach for bringing up that this month is also the Immigrants Month. With that being said, I'm working with the Revere History Museum. We did that project in the past with them to create the multicultural section in there. We extended another invitation to bring that multicultural section to the festival. And also this festival became a platform to advocate for diversity and inclusion in the city of Revere. Each year, we promote a specific culture or a specific country. This year, we will be promoting and showcasing the work that we did together at the Revere History Museum. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Mukabir. Okay, so next on the agenda is the updates from the Hrc Working Groups. So what I'd like to mention first is at our May 5th meeting, we created 3 working groups: cultural events and celebrations with Vice Chair Hosseini, Chief Bright, Commissioner Mukabir; an education and outreach group with Commissioner Alexis, Commissioner Pish, and Commissioner Einstein; and an evaluation working group. At that time, it was to be Vice Chair Hosseini, Dr. Garcia, Commissioner McGee, and Commissioner Pish. I did reach out because some people were serving on 2 groups, and as chair, I was concerned that people might be spread too thin. And so we've made a couple of changes, and on the evaluation group will be now Dr. Garcia, Commissioner McGee, and Reverend Bogetman. So this way, everyone will be on just one group. We also have a special task force for public mediations, and on that is Commissioner Alexis and Commissioner McGee, and I, as the chairperson, will be serving on that with them as well. So for the cultural events and celebrations, would someone, a representative from that group, like to give us a brief update?
Chairwoman, thank you so much for the opportunity. I have been in touch with Vice Chair Hosseini and Chief Bright. Chief Bright is out for a vacation, but we did touch base before he left. And I've been working with Chairwoman on planning for the Moroccan Festival, and we are working to update a document that can help other people in the city if they want to promote their heritage. We have been also talking to Dr. Barrows to help for the city to help us build an inventory for those multicultural groups if they want to celebrate their culture, and checklist. I also attended the city programming or the citywide event committee. It was very informative. It was very, very helpful. And to be honest with you, it did help me a lot during the planning for the Moroccan Festival. And I'm taking that as a guidance. It's actually, I'm sorry, it's called Citywide Special Events Task Force. So it did really help me, because when it came to that workforce meeting, you'll find like all the people you are looking for. And we really need a commission like this or a workforce group like this to guide people, because they get lost. There is like so many licenses you have to stick. There is not so many people you have to notify. And it is a huge responsibility, and individuals can't do it by themselves. It's really a citywide work, and everyone should be involved in that. We will share that document with you as soon as we get a solid work, and we will be also willing to touch base with the other people that were organizing events. I personally got in touch with the License Commission, and they got the list of events that they were invited in the last 3 years, just to get in touch with those people and see if they need any additional help. I did get in touch with the health department to get a list of pre-approved food trucks in the city, which is very, very challenging. Like when people try to organize events, it's very hard for them to find food trucks. And also those food trucks, they need to be approved by the city. And these are some of the challenges that I had in the past that I'm trying to help build a strategy for those groups to overcome these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adair.
Sorry. Additionally, we are in the Google Doc that we're all sharing and stuff like that. We are like listing events that, well, holidays that are going to be celebrated in July, to see if we could find ways to celebrate those by making events. And additionally, just as a overall thing, it's not anything event specific, but working on designing a banner for the HRC, so that when it comes to events, we have our own representation, like a general one, whether it be like the Moroccan Cultural Festival, where we have our own table. So that's also something that where the event and cultural group is also discussing about as well.
Thank you, Vice Chair. If I heard correctly, it sounds like all of this information that you're gathering, that you're putting it on a working document, that at some point, as things unfold, you'll be able to share with the full HRC. Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly?
That is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely, that's what we will do. And also it's gonna be a document for the community at all. It's like a resource for people in the city to take advantage of.
So there's two documents: a working document that you may that you gather information from the public, what they're looking for, that you share with this group, but then also a resource document that you can give to different community groups. And I don't know if you saw that Dr. Barros mentioned we might want to consider an HRC logo, so that would go on the banner or any other on any other thing. Okay, thank you. Any questions before we go on to the next group?
Chairwoman, if you don't mind, I think this is an excellent idea to have our own logo. And as one of the planning commission of the Moroccan Festival, I would like to invite this group to our event and have our banner, because the work that we do in here, it's tremendous. And as an appreciation for for your support. I think it's a very good idea to have either a tent or a banner, at least a banner in the event. In every event that we support in the city.
Thank you. Dr. Barros, did you have your hand up?
I did. Thank you, Chairwoman. I wanted to just get a sense of what the conversation was in the group about how our community members, residents can get connected and involved. I know you mentioned that you're doing some outreach, which is great, but is there any, maybe it's something we need to add on our website for like an interest, sort of like an interest form for people who want to get connected to events? I'm just trying to give you an opportunity to make a clear message to the people, to the residents, how they can get connected and involved with the working group.
We did discuss at our leadership meeting that maybe as these working groups progress, that each group would have their own webpage, how to contact the working group, what the working group is doing, updates, videos, whatever. But in the meantime, maybe just for specifically this group, it might be helpful to just have something on our current HRC webpage, just so there's at least a temporary mechanism until the group has its own webpage. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Thank you.
Next is the Education and Outreach Working Group. Do we have a spokesperson for that group? It must be Commissioner Pish or Commissioner Reinstein, because Commissioner Alexis is not here.
Hi, I don't know if you guys can really hear me, but I think we're still trying to figure out a way to meet. I think the last I saw, we were having scheduling issues.
Commissioner Pish, do you want to add anything to that, even if it's just to confirm that?
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner Reinstein. Sorry. We're still trying to find a schedule to meet, hopefully next week, keeping our finger crossed.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a note of that. And also would be helpful if you could, once you do schedule a meeting, please let Dr. Barros, Vice Chair, and myself just drop us a note so we're aware. Thank you. Evaluation, the spokesperson for that group.
All right. So Molly, Karu, and I met to discuss the tools that we should create to evaluate our work. I would not say evaluate, but assess or, measure the quality of our work. But Karu actually just moved to another group, and the team is welcome to the group. So team, you are with me, and Molly as well. So so we met, we discussed a wide range of strategies in terms of what would be the best approach and where to start. And certainly the work of the Human Rights Commission is where the work needs to start. We thought that the first thing we need to do is to give and to continue to build the credibility and the trust for this group, for the commissioners, also for the Human Rights Commission in general, would be after the meeting, each meeting is concluded, we should have a post meeting survey that participants will take and tell us how How was the quality of the meeting? Did they have a chance to participate? And I went ahead and created a tool that will allow us to do that. I'm going to share that with you. Let me see. You need to enable me to share the document, Madam Chair.
I believe our acting clerk might need to do that. I do not see the security.
Okay, it's all set, I think. So this is the document. It's a draft document. I just shared it with Karut team and Molly, probably half an hour prior to this meeting. It's a draft document. You can take a look. I think in order for us to earn trust and continue to do this work in a very transparent way, we need to let people and measure and ask them, how was the meeting? Whether they were satisfied with the meeting or not. And these are the questions, but this tool can also be used for events, for all kinds of forums that we may run. We can certainly measure these. So I want you to take a look, probably take 1-2 minutes to read it through. Feedback is always important. We always take it for improvement, but we can translate also into Spanish and other languages that reflect our city. The goal here is to really make our meeting enjoyable and increase voice and participation in those meetings, and really, continue to improve our work. So that's the bottom line here. So take a look at it. That's the end of it. So feedback is always welcome. That's our work so far. And obviously, as our work continues and evolves over time, a more robust way of measuring our work will have to be developed. This is just a survey, but then we will have to really utilize more sophisticated tools to really down the road to measure the outcome of the program, whether the program is working or not, the frequency of our meetings in terms of revising the goals and the action steps that we have developed. So that will be down the road, but for the purpose of immediacy, I think this is the way to go. And I think that in order for us to really measure other types of programs that will be, developed by our group down the road, first, we need to build trust with the community and let them really judge our work first. So that's the purpose of this survey. Any questions?
Dr. Garcia, do you mind to stop screen share, please?
Sure, yeah. All set.
Thank you so much. That looks awesome. And because I'm aware of the time and what other business we have, I would suggest that you send it to all the commissioners so that we have time to actually really look at it and give some feedback and be prepared, have more preparation to give some input. It's a great idea. It's a great starting point, but we don't have the time to get into a full conversation now. And I'd also like to see the commissioners have more time to review it and actually come up with questions and feedback. So is that reasonable to everyone? And it's up to you, Dr. Garcia. You could send it along, or, I could send it along for you, or one of the leadership, whatever is easiest for you.
I'll send it to you. Yep, thank you.
That sounds excellent. Thank you so much for the great work. And the last is the special task force for public mediations. And I will, because Commissioner McGee just recently joined the commission and Commissioner Alexis isn't here, I'll be the spokesperson temporarily. We got some direction from Dr. Barrows that basically this is really a short-lived task force because we are doing this since a resident kept requesting public mediations. And so we heard the call and we felt like we could work on providing some kind of format and venue for public mediations. And so this would be almost like a one-off, or we would create some kind of format that would maybe be revisited in the future if the situation arose. So when we met, what we really talked about was what is the purpose of the public mediation and what qualifies. What we came up with is these are complaints, and it's to resolve complaints and grievances within the community about the Human Rights Commission in areas where other methods have been exhausted or a private mediation process has been refused. We discussed, would this happen in the council chambers? Would there be another suitable public location? Would it be remote? We discussed there really should be an application process, and who would review and triage this? Would we need to maybe bring the city solicitor in for some assistance? We would need to post this, do a public posting of this mediation agenda so that it was on the city calendar, on the HRC webpage. And we talked about the format, and this is, I think, where commissioners need to really give some thought and feedback. And again, I may need to send this around unless there's some quick responses. Should this be in the format of a restorative justice circle? Or should this be more in the format of a mediation, closer to what the legal system looks like? And if it was in a restorative justice circle, there would be a circle leader or leaders. And if it was more of a traditional transformative or facilitated mediation, then there would be a panel of mediators or moderators. It would not include an HRC member or not include a city official, because we would want to have a neutral party residing over this. So that's sort of what we came up with so far. If anyone has a really quick response that they feel going the route of a restorative justice circle or the route of a more traditional mediation, if either of those feel like you feel strongly in one direction, you could quickly speak up. And if not, I can summarize what I just said. And just as I asked Dr. Garcia to share it with the group, I can do that with everyone, and you can have time to give it some more thought, ask some more questions, and give more, considerable input. So does it seem like people would prefer that I we follow the same format as with Dr. Garcia? We'll follow up. Okay, so I will do that. There'll be 2 documents that will come after the meeting that people will have a chance to review and then have a further discussion at the next meeting. So thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have an appearance by Anthony Cogliandro, Ward 3 City Councilor, and Councilor Cogliandro requested this appearance. So he needs to be made a panelist. Councilor, are you here? Hello? Oh, maybe some technical difficulties.
He is here, Chair.
I see him, but he has his profile image up. It looks like he might be logging in. Okay, so we'll just practice waiting.
Madam Chair, can I name something about what you just discussed?
Mhm.
Because you said you would share it and we can discuss it at the next meeting. And that just makes me wonder, you know, how long will it take for us to actually schedule the session if we wait for follow-up discussion? So I'm wondering if we could agree to offer feedback via email. Is that not
I think that without violating the open meeting laws,
right?
and I'll confirm with the city clerk, if I send the document, but send it BCC and people reply one at a time, so we're not having a discussion over email, I think that might be, that could work, and then we could discuss it further at the leadership meeting, if that's helpful.
Right, just for the purpose of getting your group the feedback, so then you all can, you know, process and do the work to move forward.
And okay, so yes, in terms of Dr. Garcia's document, should we do something similar? Or are you more concerned about just the special task force?
No, we should. So Dr. Garcia's group can also keep it moving. I was able to review it quickly. It looks very, my first question was, can we get it digitized? And I assume he's thinking that already.
Okay, so I'll follow up with Dr. Garcia. I will follow up after the meeting, and then the commissioners will hear by email, and they'll know whether we're asking for input by email or what. So we'll get that sorted out.
And it looks like Councilor Cagliano is having connection issues. Shall we move to the next and bring him in when he's ready?
Well, if there isn't any other business, then next is the open forum. So I don't know if we want to go to the open forum and then come back. Why don't we give him one more minute and see if he's able to join?
I just saw a text, a message saying that he's trying to join from his cell phone because the computer is not allowing me to do it.
And what I can get an idea from is
There he is.
the people, if those who want to speak, I just want to have a sense so I know time-wise, is there, what I see are 3 hands raised. So I'm figuring those are the 3, but it looks like Councilor Cogliando has successfully joined us. And Councilor, if we're happy to have you, and I'm glad you were able to connect. And if you could just, before I hand it over to you, if you could just give me a moment so that I could just make a brief statement.
Sure, no problem.
So I wanted to state that Council Cogliando made the request through Dr. Barros to address the HRC and discuss an incident that took place at the December 2nd, 2021 HRC meeting. When this matter was brought before the full City Council on April 25th, 2022, the City Council declined to take any jurisdiction in the matter. To our knowledge, Councilor Cogliando has not been designated by the City Council to appear as their representative. Nevertheless, because he has requested the opportunity to speak with us, we welcomed that opportunity. And so, Councilor, please state any comments or questions you have, and please start by directing them to me as the chair. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, everyone. First and foremost, I've been listening to the whole meeting, and I just want to say it was really good to hear Dr. Barros speak. Happy Pride, everyone. I got to hear you speak yesterday. I also want to just make a comment to Commissioner McGee. I'd like to apologize because I have friends from all over the world, and it includes Mexico as well. And I think what happened at the last meeting was incredibly inappropriate. And any amount of apology I can give you and to everyone else who was offended, please accept it on my behalf. Thank you. So I do want to say that I am here on my own. I was not sent here by anyone. When I began my campaign for office, it was to focus on, quality of life issues, and what it turned into was this, this need for accountability within our community. And any task that I handle or try to combat, there's zero personal interest to me. I just want to say that I believe in the Human Rights Commission, and I think all of you are community warriors that care very much about your city and the cultures within it, as do I. So with that said, I want to also bring up the fact that I understand what it's like to be in those council chambers with a group of people yelling and it being interruptive and conducting themselves the way they do, and it's completely inappropriate. I do feel that some of it is because they feel like they're not being heard, but at the end of the day, it's not okay, and they shouldn't do that. However, as elected officials and mayoral appointed officials, we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we need to rise above that. Now, we were approached at the city council meeting by a resident, Gina Castiello. She said that she was called names. I asked for proof. And very simply put, I received it, I reviewed it, and I did request to have this conversation in the council chambers, but I don't, that wasn't fulfilled. So I thought that I would respectfully ask, going through Dr. Barrows, if I could speak here. And again, there is zero personal interest in this. If you follow anything that I've been doing, I'm also seeking accountability on my very own city council. So I'm here today to acknowledge that I did hear Ms. Che Hosani call Gina trash and garbage. And I do want to say that that type of behavior is inappropriate. And I wouldn't be here unless I had clear evidence of that. And for some reason, these people come to me feeling like I'll help them, and I will. So, Ms. Hosani, I don't know if you want to say anything, but I do feel that as a mayoral appointed, council confirmed vice chair of the Human Rights Commission, that we need to be above that, and that you should apologize to her.
Excuse me, Counselor. I'd like you to speak with me first before we have Vice Chair Hosani speak.
My apologies.
No, that's okay. I just want to clarify a few things. The video excerpt that you received, was that from the resident who issued the complaint?
I'm not here with any other information other than the fact that I received the video from Gina Castiello.
Yes. So from the resident that made the complaint.
If that, I don't know any more about the issues between you guys and her. I apologize.
No, I just wanted to, I'm just trying to clarify the source of the video. Yes. And so in that video excerpt that Ms. Castiello provided, did you see or hear any of the guests of the audience yelling at Vice Chair Hosani and other HRC members, go back to your country?
Yes.
And do you feel that that conduct was appropriate?
I believe I addressed that at the beginning of my statement. I do not agree with the way that the conduct of the audience has been. And if I were you, and we have also taken measures in the council chambers, I feel bad for you. We have police presence. I won't tolerate it. I know President Visconti won't, and I hope you won't. You should not have to endure any of that. And through you to Ms. Hosani, I apologize if that was said to you. That's awful. And so
I just was trying to clarify, you did see other comments that were stated, like go back to your country, your citizenship should be revoked. I just wasn't sure if you saw, because before I hand this to Vice Chair Hosani, I'm also not sure if you're aware that at the March 10th, 2022 HRC meeting, the commission acknowledged that there was unskillful respectful behavior on both sides, but we also acknowledged that as appointed officials of the city, we should have a higher standard of conduct, and we acknowledge that behavior and that that's what we set for ourselves. So I'm not sure, again, I just want to bring you to your awareness, Counselor, that we did publicly acknowledge that on March 10th. And now I'll hand it off to Vice Chair Hosseini.
May I say one more thing? I apologize for the interruption. I understand that there have been awful things said on their side, and I myself have been called a white supremacist and a racist, which neither are true. But it's how we respond to those things that matters as the people who are supposed to be serving this community. And that's what's important to me. And also an acknowledgement. I'm sorry, that's not an apology. So that's what I'm here for today. Thank you very much.
Well, Dr. Barrows, it looked like you might have, did you want to say anything before I continue?
First of all, thank you, Councilor Cagliandro, for coming forward and wanting to address this head on. I want to say we're, I think, on the same page about accountability and standards, right? I'm curious, Councilor Cagliandro, have you asked Gina Castiello and others to also apologize for their actions and behaviors?
If I may, that isn't the point, Dr. Barrows. The point is that we are the people who serve the community. If I spoke that way to somebody, there would be a public outcry for my apology to that person. As elected, as appointed, we need to be above that. So asking if there's an apology from the other side, I don't feel that that's the case. If we're going to be held to a higher, we are held to a higher standard. We are to conduct ourselves, you know, and I'm not even getting into the other issues that I've been sent screenshots upon screenshots about, you know, some awful things that have gone back and forth. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to be the bigger person. So it's not about them apologizing. It's not. It's about us conducting ourselves professionally and as servants of the community.
Okay, I'm gonna hold my comments and allow Vice Chair Hosseini to speak.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair and Dr. Chairwoman Janine and Dr. Barrows. Thank you very much, Councilor Cagliandro, for taking your time and being here today. I just want to say, you know, I'll come out and say, you know, I do take full accountability and responsibility for the things that I have said. Like everyone has mentioned, this isn't something that the way that I acted is not something that is not the way I typically act. You know, when I and my fellow co-members are being attacked for reasons that are racially and Islamophobically based upon, I have zero tolerance for that, especially with this individual, because she's very Islamophobic, and I'll say that right now. So I'll take accountability for my actions, but I'm not going to apologize if she was offended. I'm not. And
just keep in mind, I just want to state, Vice Chair Hosseini, keep in mind that we are scheduling a public mediation.
yes,
And Councilor, I sort of had hoped that you were going to be a bit patient, because the whole reason we created this special task force was to honor Ms. Castiello's repeated requests for a public mediation, so that this, when we get into this kind of dialogue, it could happen in that kind of a forum. But we all agree that there's a certain standard of conduct for elected officials and appointed officials, and that's the point here, that we're owning that. And Vice Chair Hosseini, I wouldn't elaborate too much, because this really isn't the venue for it.
understood. Point is, I'll just repeat what I said. Point is, I acknowledge the fact that whatever I said was disrespectful. I know that because I'm an adult, and furthermore, as I grow and grow into this position, I know how to conduct myself well, and that's the main thing that I wanted to get out of this experience. Yeah, and just all due respect, Counselor Cagliandro, I understand that you have similar things like this in the counselor chambers, but the situation, you really cannot compare the situation because this was racially motivated. This was everything wrong and everything that we try to do as an HRC. So I feel like it's really disrespectful to really compare the two, since one, yeah, but like, you know, when we get into a mediation, whenever that is, we could get into more detail, but that's all I have to say.
So is this matter, can we resolve this matter for this venue?
But
Yes, Dr. Barros.
Counselor, you can respond.
I just want to thank Ms. Husseini for her comments, and I appreciate that she's taking responsibility. At the end of the day, it's just we have to, and listen, we all have to work together. And Ms. Husseini, I would never, I'm just comparing having, you know, boisterous crowds in the audience. I would never compare the issues that we deal with what you deal with. I don't understand, but you know, it's if those things that have been said to you is completely wrong. I want to go on record saying that it's not okay. So I just want to thank all of you for your time accepting me here. I look forward to more conversation in the future. I know that I had a meeting with Dr. Barros a couple of weeks ago just to make an introduction. So I'm looking forward to, if you guys need any help from the council on anything, please feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Counselor, for you know, for reaching out, for doing your part, for being open-minded about this. It's appreciated, and hopefully this can help forge a continued partnership with the City Council going forward, because we're really here to work together for the community.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's right, and I want to name that. You know, humility is part of the growth process, right? And taking that accountability and being that role model of saying, we are human, we can make mistakes. And this is how we grow and learn. And we've done that. And I'm sorry that it hasn't landed on folks who are bringing the complaints forward. But for me, what feels like help, Counselor Cagliandro, is for you, yes, call us out so that we're clear, everybody's clear, we've taken that accountability, but really appreciate if you do the same on the other side. Because even after the complaint by Gina Castiello in your space that has, you know, generated your appearance here, we endured just last month more name calling, more declaring that we should go back to our country. And so as a Black person, even though we're in this role, that stuff still hits us hard. And we have to take that home. We have to swallow it. And when you don't stand up for us and say, you have to take accountability if you want others to do the same, because we leave room for grace and compassion for these guests who continue to come into our space, for them to be educated, to learn and do better, right? But we need your help to help hold them accountable as well for doing their part in their learning and holding space, safe spaces for folks. I just wanted to name that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, and I apologize for any commissioners who maybe wanted to make comments. It's not that it's not welcomed. It's just that we need to have time for the community to speak, and we're already gone a little bit over. So unless people want to stay here until 7 o'clock, then I can have other people speak now. But if you want to try to end closer to 6:30 or shortly after, then we'll need to wait for the public mediation, when HRC members will have more than enough opportunity to speak there. So if I don't see any hands, I will, if I know there's people in the community that raise their hands. So since I don't see any hands from the commissioners, I will take that as any further comments, because this is a deeper topic for sure, will be handled at the public mediation that we're working on creating and scheduling. So thank you, Counselor, for joining us. And now as we go to the open forum, I just want to see how many hands there are up so I know how much time people have. We'll maybe go a little bit after 6:30, but not much. So I will time. What will happen is each person, as your hand is up, the clerk will make you a panelist so you can come on and speak. You'll have a minute and a half to speak if you need that much time. And I ask that you be respectful when you speak. I ask that you speak or ask questions about the topics that were discussed tonight. And begin by addressing the chair, so that then if other commissioners don't, instead of just calling on a certain commissioner, although they may have the time to speak. So we'll begin with Lisa Johnson, and I will just set my timer.
Good evening. In the name of transparency, on the website, there is a remote option available for this meeting. However, there are individuals who did get to the location out of respect for everybody, got to the location. There are posters all over inside, new posters, and there's no meeting there. So if I'm correct, at the beginning of the meeting, you said that the room is not available. I'm curious to know who told you that, because the room is completely and totally empty. And on a second note, police officers have been present at the prior meetings. There were no threats made to anyone. It seems to me that this is a complete move to silence the public, completely to silence the public. And so I'm going to ask you, who specifically told you that that room was not going to be available? Because this looks like this is a cover-up. You did not want people to go to that meeting tonight, and no one's been threatened in the past. No one. No one. In the last meeting, actually, no one spoke out of turn. No one spoke out of turn. So what's going on here?
Your time is up. Thank you. So I already put in the chat that the city clerk emailed all chairs of all boards and commissions in the city at the end of May, stating that the council chambers were not available during the month of June. So that is the information I got, and that is the direction I got as the chair of this commission. We absolutely did not prefer to meet remotely. We actually feel like we were just starting to get some momentum, even though it doesn't necessarily feel safe, but that we were having people come to the meetings. So we actually felt badly that we had to do this remotely. You may perceive that the meetings are safe, but you haven't sat up in our seats and have people come right up to us after the meeting and harass us, or have either commissioners or supporters of ours be followed out into the parking lot and harassed and threatened. So I'm glad that you haven't felt that, but there have been others that have felt that. The last meeting may have not been as rambunctious. There were, in addition to the police presence, the mayor was there, the chief of staff was there, the city solicitor was there. There may have been other reasons, and that people were not as rambunctious. And we really want to have public input. And so the
chief of police was there. The chief of police was there. The police were there. How could you possibly feel threatened? How?
Ms. Johnson, I'm not, this is not, we're not going to debate back and forth. You're not going to tell, you're not going to
propaganda.
Okay.
Total.
So I asked you to speak respectfully, and I'm going to close this now. You you do not know what it's like to sit in those chairs and how we feel, and it's not up to you to tell us whether we feel safe or not. Okay, so we will continue to meet in person. If you want to see why we were told not to meet in the council chambers, then you can take that up with the city clerk, Ashley Melnick. So next is Michael. Michael, you can unmute yourself, and I'll set the timer.
Okay, this is Michael Sparks from 1 Beach Street.
Thank you, Mike.
Several accusations were made about being called Islamophobist, and if those were true, then you would have tape of that also. So why didn't that be brought up? I think an apology is at least deserved, but that is not what we want. This is totally wrong. And the way he spoke to the counselor like he's a child, I'm sure now he knows how we have been spoken to. And I think he's going to probably address the council and probably talk about that, because we're going to bring it up again too. Thank you. And also one more thing. You're all appointed by the mayor, but you have to be approved by the council. Going back in all the records, Dr. Barros has not been approved by the council.
Thank you, Michael. Dr. Barros is not on the commissioner. She's not on the commission. She does not need to go through the same process as board members.
Michael, I encourage you to listen closely when we're speaking, because what Councilor Vice Chair Husseini shared was not that someone called her Islamophobic. That wasn't what she named. So I just encourage folks to listen and stick to the facts when we're trying to discuss these things.
And you also, Michael had also asked why we didn't have any video footage. During that December 2nd meeting, that all of that disruption that led to the meeting being suspended, when the meeting suspended, the Revere TV coverage stopped temporarily. And so the city did not have any video footage of that. So you have the footage that you have, but we did not have any footage. So next is Joe Rizzoli.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. A couple of things. I think the Miss Husseini should resign. You make all these rules and regulations for everybody else, but now I'm noticing as I'm watching this how embarrassing this is for you people. I mean, you could see it in your faces that the city councilor, when he was talking, that the embarrassment over what she said and the rules she broke, and she didn't apologize. She should resign, period. That's it. Case closed. And now, one more thing, and you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm only going to repeat what was said. The fire chief told Miss Diana Plus to go fuck herself. What are you going to do about that one?
So, Mr. Rizzoli, I asked you to be respectful. You're raising your voice, and now you're swearing. So, if you have 15 more seconds to continue, please use it wisely.
And please, if we're going to expect and demand a certain level of engagement from others, please come into the chambers and offer the same treatment.
How do I repeat what he said then? Well, how do I say that?
Mr. Rizzoli.
Point of order, point of order.
How do I repeat what he said? So I'm sorry. Okay. Do I say, oh, the N word?
Okay, so
Point of order, this is out of order.
thank you, Mr. Rizzoli. We hear your point. And I'd like to just say that it is not the place for the community has plenty of input in the work we do. It is not the place of the community to tell us how we feel and tell us that we're embarrassed or tell us we should be safe or we should feel unsafe. So I don't know why you're telling us that we're embarrassed. So anyway, let's go on to Ralph DeCicco.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ralph DeCicco, 49 Washington Street, also chair of the Revere Commission on Disabilities. First, I want to say you guys are doing a great job. Regardless of what negativity is being thrown at you, you have a tough job. I just wanted to reach out to the Human Rights Commission. I know it wasn't on the agenda, but when a couple of things that you had stated that, you know, the Human Rights Commission, part of your work is for the human rights of everyone. But and Dr. Barrows knows my feeling on this, and I'm reaching out to everyone that I can, and the Human Rights Commission would be a great ally for me, that all public meetings should have a hybrid component to them. So I would like some assistance with that from the Human Rights Commission. I know you cannot set policies, but I would appreciate it if you can help with making a recommendation for that. Reason being is there's people of all kinds of backgrounds, people with disabilities, seniors, people of different ethnicities, people with disabilities that do not like to be in public forums, that like to be part of any kind of meeting, notwithstanding the Human Rights Commission meeting, but any type of meeting, so that they could be a part of the community with public forums and meetings. So I would really appreciate any assistance with recommendations from the Human Rights Commission to the city on that.
Thank you, Mr. DeCicco. I was just going to say your time has run out, but you must have timed it perfectly. That is excellent points. And I made a note that we can definitely add that to our agenda and do what we can to support you in this cause to make all meetings more accessible. And however else you can even work directly with Dr. Barrows or myself or Vice Chair Hosseini in between meetings. Dr. Barrows, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ralph, for sharing this. I just added in the chat that we should also have a standard practice of ASL interpretation at all public meetings as well. And it is something that we're looking to implement. And I think if we join forces, Disability Commission, HRC, that we can maybe bring this in front of the mayor, the council, to see if we can standardize this.
Yeah, that's what we've been working on with the Commission on Disability for ASL.
And I know you've been working at the state level as well, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
The city of Boston also just hired, the Commission on Disabilities in Boston has just hired a full-time ASL interpreter for all their, whatever they need it for.
So smart. Yeah, so let's talk for sure offline so we can join forces. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we officially adjourn, I can't reiterate enough that we want to have community input. However, when people come and sort of yell at us, it's one thing to disagree with maybe some opinions or matters we stand on, but when people come to us and they basically yell at us, raise their voice and yell at us, it's not an environment of civility. It's difficult to hear each other and understand one another and learn from each other. So it's my intention for our group in our meetings, that it's a space where people come with a calmer presence. You can still be passionate. You can still, speak intensely, but you don't have to come at us so critically. I mean, otherwise we're just not going to get anywhere. So that's all I need to say. Does anyone have any brief final comments before we adjourn the meeting?
Mark your calendars, check the website for all the event flyers. Please join us. Bring your family, friends. And good spirits. Happy spirits.
And yes, hope to see you at the Juneteenth celebration and at the tea party, the tea dance party.
And the Moroccan festival.
Yes, and the Moroccan festival. June's a busy month.
Yes.
So on that note, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I think
Second.
that was Commissioner Tisch and McGee, and all in favor, please raise your hand, or physical or virtual hand, all in favor. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.